Welcome friends, LostScarf here, and it's time for a complete guide on the behemoth known as Embermane. So the idea behind this is that I want to make guides for Dauntless. I really like the game, I know how to make guides, so I figure, let's do this, it'll be a lot of fun, and it'll help people, and that's what's important, helping people. I asked everyone, what is the first big hurdle behemoth in this game? And unanimously it was Embermane. People have a problem with Embermane, it's a pain in the butt to deal with, and I had a hard time dealing with it too, but I spent a bunch of hours fighting it with every weapon, and I have a guide here now to help you out with that behemoth if you're having trouble with him. Now there are some assumptions here. This guide will be as if you're taking on Embermane for the first time, so you have weapons around like Skarn level. You don't have the frost weapons yet, but if you have the frost weapons it'll make life a lot easier, and your tonics are up to blitz level. So what we're going to talk about here is we're going to go over just general information about what Embermane is and their attack patterns. We're going to go over tips and tells about the beast, what loadout you should have for dealing with Embermane, how to take on Embermane with each weapon from the easiest to the hardest, and how to face Embermane in solo play versus team play. There will be timestamps in the description so you can skip to what you want specifically, if you want to fight it with specific weapons, or just the tips and tells, just whatever you need to understand, and to beat Embermane, there's going to be information here for you. I'm going to go over as much as I can, but if there's anything you feel is missing, say so in the comments so that people can learn from the comments as well. Embermane and attack patterns. Embermane is a blaze behemoth that is weak against frost damage. It is a hit and run type fighter that moves around a lot with very little time spent standing still. It has 4 forms, that being regular and fire with rage versions of each. In the regular form, Embermane only has 3 attacks, and this is what you're going to be fighting at first. It will be charging and swiping at you, doing a headbutt if you try to attack it at close range, or spin with its tail to try to hurt you that way as well. It'll try to stay close by and do a bunch of swipe attacks at you, and if you get up at the wrong time, it is just going to hurt you, and it's really not a good situation. So you want to try to get some distance from it, depending on your weapon, or stay close, dodging around and beating it up, depending on how you want to deal with the beast. In rage form, it just does these attacks much faster. Now, when it has fire form, which takes place about a minute into the fight, it has all the above attacks, but also 3 new ones. It has the ability to jump back and leave a wall of fireballs in front of it. It can do a fire breath that sweeps across the arena, making multiple fireballs, and it can lob fire into the air that will land where you were when it launched the fireballs. In rage form, there's more fire, and the fire breath is more a stream of fireballs that's a bit more difficult to dodge. Luckily, when it comes to Embermane, rage form is actually really short, so you don't have to worry about it too long. Now, the majority of the fight, Embermane will be leaping around, making distance between you and it, and charging to swipe at you. After the swipe, Embermane will be standing still to take damage for a few seconds, and what happens next is dependent on where you are and what it decides to do. As you close into attack, if you're around the front side, it'll go for the headbutt attack. Now, if you're more through the back side, it'll try to do the tailspin to hurt you. Or it won't attack at all and just jump away to do another swipe attack. Those are the decisions the beast will make, is either attack or run to do another swipe. Now in fire form, it will on occasion do a jump back fireball attack, and it will leave fire in front of it. But when it does that, it's using it to catch a breath, so you can run in past the fire and attack it, which is pretty useful. But usually what happens is, the Embermane's going to run away as always, and it's going to do a fire attack before it does a charge attack. So it'll do either the fire lob or the fire breath, and after that, it's going to charge at you again to do the swipe. It will always do a charge attack after the fire breath or fire lob. This is guaranteed to happen. Just remember that for when you're fighting it. Whereas, sometimes it will do the charge or a fire attack after doing the leap back from the fire move. So keep that in mind, but always remember, fire breath goes into a charge and fire lob goes into a charge, so it makes the beast more predictable for you to deal with. Something else to keep in mind is even after you take off the horn and the tail off Embermane, it will still do those attacks, it just won't have as much range to them, which is helpful. Tips and tells. Now the idea here is the body language of what the behemoth does to show you what's going to happen. So that's how we're going to go over this. So first let's talk about the headbutt. Embermane will move its head from one side to the other for the headbutt. And you'll see also its legs will lift up, so it'll have a lot more pressure on it when it pushes in the other direction. So keep some eyes on the front side of Embermane when you're attacking it, no matter where you are, so that you can see where it's trying to shift its body weight. And when it does it, it'll of course hit up in the other direction, moves its entire body around, and so you got to watch out for the upper half of the body to hit you. When it comes to the tail whip, Embermane will lower its body and straighten out, and then it will do a leap and do the tail whip to hit you. So just keep an eye on, you can see at least half of the body. If it just looks like he's lowering his body to do a leap, it's a good chance he's going to go ahead and do the tail whip, so get out of the way for that. The only other tell really to keep in mind is the fire lob, just so you see it coming. When he digs his head into the ground, he's going to hit fire out of the ground, and lob fire at you, and you got to watch out for that. For the fire breath, if you don't see him going for the lob, he's going to go for the fire breath. That's just a simple tell right there. Now, if you're wondering about tells for the swipes, it's guaranteed to always swing from the side that's closest to it. So if you're close to the right side, it will swipe with the right arm. If you're close to the left side, it will swipe with the left arm. It will always go for whichever side you're closest towards. Now, when it comes to tips, you want to attack the Embermane around the backside of the body so that you're only worried about the tail spin, which does have a lot of range once you take out the tail. And then sometimes it will still try to do the headbutt because it can hit you with the body. So just make sure you are staying near the back leg so that the body doesn't hit you. And once you get the right angle on that, you can actually just wail on it with a lot of combos before it either runs away or just tries to do the tail spin, or just does the headbutt but doesn't hit you, so you can just keep hitting on it, and which goes pretty well. Sometimes you'll have it stuck trying to do headbutts for a while, and you get a bunch of free damage because of that. When it comes to the fire lob, just move. Just move a little bit, and then you'll be out of the way of that fire lob, and you'll be good. Now, this is an important tip when it comes to the fire breath. The way I feel about fighting the Embermane is you should always be kind of a distance from it and in front of the Embermane, because when it does the fire breath, it will always miss you in the middle, which is just perfect. When it comes to the swipe, roll, you can roll through the swipe perfectly with the iframes, you're pretty fine there. Dash can too a little bit, but it's not as easy. You'll usually get hit trying to do it, so you're better off dashing out than in. Something I said before is when the Embermane does the jump back fire attack, it sits there for a while to catch its breath. That is a good time to go beat it up, so if you catch it doing that, just beat the crap out of it. And two more. Frost damage, of course, does more damage, so get the frost damage if you can, especially if you're just having problems with the Embermane. But this guide is meant to help you be able to beat it without frost damage if needed. And lastly, stagger damage, if you're using the stagger weapons, will make life a lot easier for you, for dang sure. Loadout versus Embermane. Now, this part is more an assumption for people who are first fighting Embermane, not for later players who are just learning to fight Embermane because they're just being annoyed fighting Embermane whenever they do. So, you shouldn't have frost weapons yet, but if you get frost weapons, that'd be very helpful, especially for chainblade users. But most likely, you're going to have Skarn or Sherog level armor, because that's the strongest beast you've been fighting, and the fire resistance from Sherog would be helpful. And you should have Skarn or Sherog weapons. Now, you should be using Skarn here because it's neutral, whereas Sherog weapons are fire, which will do less damage because you are fighting a fire beast. So you're using Skarn most likely. And that does good stagger damage, and you do some good damage in general with it. But for the cells and such with the stats for your armor, you kind of want good stagger damage, stamina recovery, and HP, which will help you with just taking damage. Fire resistance also helps as well because of the fire damage, so keep those in mind, and any cells you think that help out more, you can add those as well. Now the Lantern, I suggest Skarn Lantern. It's really great for damage mitigation and tearing off parts with the Tornado ability. When it comes to the tonics, Stamina Tonic for dodging, Bulwark Tonic for taking hits, and Frenzy Tonic for hurting the Embermane badly. You could also switch out Frenzy Tonic for Assault Tonic, which you won't have yet, but later on you'll get those, and that could be good too because of the stagger damage on them. Weapons versus Embermane. So it's time for the bread and butter. So first up, tier list of what are the best weapons to the worst versus Embermane. And right now with the 5, it is Hammer is the best, then it's Pike, then it's Sword, then it's Axe, and then it's Chain Blades. And you'll see why as I describe how to fight with each weapon. But Hammer, it is an easy time. You have the ability to beat the Embermane without even taking a single hit. That might sound crazy, but you can do that. It's nuts. Same goes for Pike and Sword. Axe has a harder time, and Chain Blades is going to have the hardest time ever. You do Chain Blades if you just like Chain Blades and you want to have a challenge, because it is not an easy fight to do whatsoever, but it is doable. It just takes a lot of work. So Hammer versus Embermane. So what you want to do is you want to wait for Embermane to charge at you for a swipe attack, then do Evasive Blast away from Embermane. When you do this, the blast will hit the Embermane and knock it off balance, and it will fall over. And it's going to be down for a couple seconds. So you run over to it and bash its head in with concussive Aether attacks, and once you do enough, it'll get dizzy from all the stagger damage, and if you do even more, you'll knock it down and it'll be knocked out for a few more seconds to do even more damage. Repeat the process over and over again when it goes for the swipe charge, and eventually you'll kill it. Just easy as that. All you gotta worry about is dodging fire attacks and being a little more careful when it rages out, and it goes down pretty easily. Some things to keep in mind: it will take some practice to get the Evasive Blast right, but even if you mess up, you shouldn't be too bad on it. If you do it too late, you'll get hurt, but eventually you'll do it earlier, and if you do it too early, you'll be dodging out of the way so you won't get hurt at all. So luckily you also have the Skarn Lantern to mitigate some damage if you're making mistakes. But once you get it down right, you'll be hitting them with that and knocking them over, and then once you get proper combos going with the concussive Aether attacks, you'll hurt him really bad really quickly, and he won't be able to do anything to you, and you can kill him without taking a single hit. It is nuts. Now the Pike is almost as good as the Hammer, but it takes a little bit more work to get going. you need to get bullets to be able to do what you need to do next. So, you're going to fight the Embermane, you're going to have to dodge and attack it a little bit until you get enough to build up your first bullet. Even the weakest bullet will be helpful for the situation though, so don't be too precious about how strong you want your bullet to be. Now, once you have a bullet, wait for the Embermane to charge at you, and shoot it before it swipes. This will knock over the Embermane and it'll be on the ground. You run over and just beat it up. You want to use harvesting attacks to build up for bigger bullets and just do more damage. And if you do enough stagger damage, you'll knock it out so that you can punish it even more. But just keep in mind that you probably want to have more stagger stats if you want to be more consistent about that. Keep knocking it over with bullets until it's dead, pretty much. Now, something to keep in mind is it's going to take some time to practice this bullet. Because if you fire too early, it'll ignore the damage from that and just run you over. And if you fire it too late, you'll hit it and it'll go over, but it also crashes into you and hurts you as well. Luckily, Scar Lantern will help mitigate some of that potential damage. One way to make this easier, though, is to just be really far away from Embermane. Just constantly be away from Embermane, so when you see it charging, start up your shot, and then it gets to you, and then bam, it gets hit, you don't get hurt, and you'll be alright. You can also roll to cancel so you can better time your shots. Now, Sword takes a while, but it does really good work, and you can not get hurt at all if you do it right. So the way this works is, when Embermane charges at you to swipe, you roll through the swipe, turn around, and do light attacks to beat up Embermane. Now you want to stay behind Embermane and watch out for the tail spins and the headbutts. That's really all you got to worry about. You can stay close and beat him up at close range the whole fight, or hang back at a distance and then roll in and beat him up at every swipe. It's up to you how you want to do it. But you're just going in there close and punishing it from behind. Eventually get that tail off so that the tail spin is not as effective, and just watching out for the body language when it's going for the headbutt. If you do it right, if you're attacking from the right spot, you can constantly just keep beating it up from behind as it's doing headbutts and doesn't hurt you at all, but you just got to be in the right spot. If you're in the wrong spot, you'll get punished, so be careful about that. It is a bit more dangerous doing sword style, but that's only if you time your rolls incorrectly and if you stand in the wrong spot while attacking. If you're in the right spot and do things right, you'll have not that much damage taken out of you, so that's not bad at all. Something to note is, your special, it's good for just giving you more attack speed and damage, but don't try to use it to knock the beast over. It will not work, it hurts when you try. It's unfortunate, but it just doesn't work out. The axe is all about timing. You want to keep your distance between you and the Embermane, charge up the horizontal edge as you anticipate the charge swipe, let loose your attack at the right time and you'll knock the Embermane off balance and onto the ground. Turn around and bash its head in. You'll cause dizziness and eventually knock it out and do more damage that way. Just keep charging up big hits when it's on the ground, build up your special, hit it with a special, and it's going to have a very, very bad day against you. The thing though is, this is really tricky to do on the timing. You have to time your attack early because of how slow the swings are. If you do it too early, you miss and you get hurt. If you do it too late, you might get the hit and interrupt it and it runs you over and you get hurt anyway. Or you just get hurt anyway because you swing just too late, it hits you before you hit it, and that's a bad time. Luckily, you might have the Scar Lantern, which will give you damage mitigation potential, which will help with getting run over. But once you get the timing down, Embermane dies really fast. Just gotta worry about, of course, the fire attacks and such, and just getting swiped at close range. But if you keep your distance and swing at it when it comes for the swipe charge from far away, oh, it's going to have a very bad day. Now, the chain blades, the only reason to do chain blades is because you hate yourself, or if you want a real big challenge here, or you just love the chain blades like I do, and you just bullheadedly want to try to win with it. Chain blades are not going to have a good day. Storm chain blades aren't enough. You really want the frost ones. That'll make life a lot easier to deal with this. But even then, it can be hard as well, because you don't have a roll, you have a dash. Roll can go through swipe and ignore damage. Dash can too, but the frame of invisibility to do that is way smaller and harder to time, so you're better off not dashing through the swipe. You're better off dashing around the swipe, so you're going to dash out and back in, and then beat up on the Embermane. Now the thing though is, this is going to use up a lot of stamina, so stamina tonics can be very helpful for that, but also Frenzy and Bulwark will help as well because this thing's just going to take everything it takes to beat. Now when you're hitting and running it, you gotta be careful about your dashes and where you place yourself and when you're beating it up. But don't commit to your combos too closely, because if you're too much into your combo and it goes with head or tailspin and you're just too much into it, you're not going to be able to dash out of the way and you'll have a very bad time. Even when it comes to the chain push, you still have to do the chain push when you have time to be able to do a dash out. So be careful about that. Just do a couple hits into the combo. Don't overcommit, because if you do, you'll get punished for it and you'll have a very bad time. Because the thing is, you're going to be hitting and running a lot. And you won't be throwing your chains around because that uses stamina. If you do that, you won't have stamina to dash, and you're going to get caught that way. This is a very long slog of a fight. You'll be dodging and striking over and over and over again, until you finally kill the behemoth or get killed. It is not an easy fight whatsoever. But once you beat it with the chain blades, you're going to feel a lot of pride because holy crap, that was a fight. Solo versus team play. Now, a lot of this is spoken of as solo because if you understand how to fight it alone, you can fight it a lot better when you're as a team because you can take advantage of a lot of different things. The thing about solo is it's easy in some ways because you can perfectly predict how the beast is going to attack you because it's only got you to attack. When you have a team to play with, it's a little bit harder in that you don't know who it's going to go for, so it can make it more unpredictable. But with a team beating on it, you can get a lot of stagger damage on the behemoth and just knock it down a lot sooner, and everyone just gangs up and beats the crap out of the beast, which is pretty great. But the thing is, there are things you can do to make the beast more predictable, and here's my suggestion. That would be lining up together at a distance so that the Embermane has to come at you all together, and so you have your pike and your hammer up front and you have everyone else in behind of that, and so the behemoth comes over, Embermane's about to go for the swipe, or he's getting close to it, he gets hit, he gets knocked over, and then everyone just beats the crap out of it. Rinse and repeat, and eventually the Embermane just gets beaten to death, and it's a good time for everybody. That's usually what I would suggest for doing team play against the Embermane. When it comes to solo, all this advice was more for solo, so there you go. In conclusion, Embermane is a really annoying behemoth to fight because it runs around so much and is definitely very intimidating the first time you face it. But once you understand their attack pattern and how best to tackle the behemoth, you'll master this fight in no time, unless you're a masochist that loves chain blades like me. That's going to take a while. Now, if you have feedback or more tips for facing the Embermane, please leave a comment. That'll be helpful for everyone for sure. I went ahead and fought the Embermane for a bunch of hours, using every weapon, coming up with every idea I could. And this is what shook out of that as far as advice goes. But if there's other things that might be more helpful, go ahead and put that out there so people can see that as well. Now, there's also a question here, and that is, what's the next behemoth that should be put up for a guide? Like, what is the next hurdle that is giving people a lot of trouble that they would like to learn to fight better? That is the question I have there. Please leave a comment for that, and that'll help me decide what the next guide will be. So that right there is the guide. I had fun making it. Hope you had fun watching and learning from it. So good luck with your hunts, and see you next time.